Night for England, who followed up their incredible... Blackwell remains in a medically induced coma for the fourth day. The fighter, of course, was taken away on a stretcher after lasting 10 rounds against Chris Eubank Jr. during Saturday night's fight at Wembley.
Now, Sean Fletcher met with the Eubank family yesterday and joins us now from outside St Mary's Hospital in London. First, Sean, how is Nick Blackwell doing this morning?
Well, Jeremy, no official word just yet from medical staff in the hospital behind me as to whether they started the process of bringing Nick Blackwell out of his coma. Earlier in the week, they actually said that he hadn't deteriorated, and that allowed them to think about starting the process, but no official word just yet. Now, that will come as a relief, the fact that his condition hadn't deteriorated, to friends and family who are by his bedside. But we won't know whether he's suffered any lasting damage until he actually comes out of the coma. Now, as you said, I caught up with Chris Eubank Jr., the man he was fighting at the weekend, and his father, Chris Eubank, who himself was involved in about 25 years ago against the boxer Michael Watson, who suffered serious brain injuries himself. Now, I started by asking Chris Eubank what it's like to be the father of a child in the ring.
Chris, what would you say to Nick Blackwell's mum? Would you give her a hug?
As a parent, it is the most heart-wrenching. I can't imagine what they're going through.
You paused there. You seem moved.
As I say, that's why we have, as fighters who have been there, so much compassion for Nick and for his family.
Now, I'm a dad. I've got a 13-year-old son. He's interested in getting into boxing. But when I see headlines like the ones I saw over the weekend, I must admit I'm put off. Why is boxing good for him?
If we teach you this art, the first lesson, you can never use it outside the ring. Never. Boxing is probably as dangerous as most other sports. Even rugby is more dangerous than boxing.
You've got the protection, you've got the head guard. It's not a street fight, there's rules, there's regulations. So it's not as brutal and as dangerous as it may seem. Sometimes it can be, but it's a great sport, and it's something that, you know, I definitely believe kids should be involved in.
Well, joining us now is neurosurgeon Colin Sheaf. Good to speak to you this morning. You see, of course, the other side of those injuries and maybe don't support the sport as much as he does there. But just talk us through, we hear this phrase medically induced coma, don't we, a lot. What does it actually mean and how does it aid healing?
It's the use of medicines to sedate the patient. It's similar to having an anaesthetic if you're having an operation when you are completely asleep. A brain that has been injured in any way, from blows or from drugs or a stroke, will swell. The brain cells will swell, and that process will go on sometimes for many hours, sometimes for several days. And during that time, if we can keep that brain asleep, reduce its electrical activity, we've got the possibility of reducing the long-term effects.
Somebody said to me it's somewhat like putting ice on a swollen ankle. It literally brings everything down. Would that be fair?
That's correct. It doesn't make the original injury any better, but it enables the injured part, the sensitive computer, as you like, to rejig itself.
And the other thing that I read, and you're the expert, is that the body will put itself in a coma when it's a greater trauma in effect. So I guess when you look at this story, is a medically induced coma less worrying than a normal coma, or do you not know until further down the line?
In truth, one does not know. This unfortunate man can't be taken back in time and not given his medically induced coma, but the best information and advice we have is that following injuries of this nature, he is more likely to come through this with less long-term problems, or possibly none, with this course of action.
But you wouldn't know at this point?
No.
So he's there not knowing, hopefully getting the best help he can in this position. His family are, though, I imagine, fraught beyond belief with worry. What kind of support will they be getting? Will they be able to be explained the range of options and the prognosis?
I'm positive that the team looking after him will have been as frank as they possibly could be, bearing in mind that nobody can be certain for the future. They will have warned them of the possibility of permanent handicap,
And do you think
possibly.
that's very likely? I mean, I know you haven't treated him yourself, but looking at it...
From the information I have received from the news, I think that is not likely. I think everyone has been treating him admirably, but at this point, nobody can predict anything.
I mean, that's the point, isn't it? Here's a guy who was injured. There's now a huge debate about the rights and wrongs of boxing. This is about a young man who's in a medically induced coma, and we all wish, of course, him and his family the very best. Thank you very much indeed, Colin. Appreciate that. It is 20 minutes to 7 o'clock Wednesday morning. Now, Jodie Prenger is here with another chance to win an